30 years ago, a magazine tapped into the pop culture consciousness in a way that few did before and none have since, delivering news about and access to the comic book industry, expanding the audience for comics and action figures while legitimizing their value to mainstream media, helping to establish the foundation for the entertainment landscape that exists today, all while creating a publishing and convention management empire. Oh, but before we get to that, I should probably explain what a magazine is. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Wizard and Toyfare Magazine. Thank you to Geology for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description below to get 40% off your 30-day trial at geology.com today. Geology is a simple skincare routine formulated for daily use, perfect if you're new to skincare or a seasoned skincare expert. It's personalized for your skin and the benefits you want to see. Do you have sensitive skin, acne, dark eye circles, or wrinkles? Take Geology's 30-second diagnostic quiz to formulate a regimen that provides the benefits your skin needs the most. Reduce dark and puffy eyes, fight acne and keep oily skin under control, protect your skin and reduce fine lines and wrinkles. A trial set comes with 4 different products because skincare is a team effort. Everyday face wash, vital morning face cream, repairing night cream, nourishing eye cream. You'll get 2 bottles of face wash, 1 for the sink and 1 for the shower. You can continue with 90-day supplies of the products you love most, subscribe to save more, or go a la carte. You're in total control. So head over to geology.com and take their free skincare quiz to save up to 40% off on your 30-day trial, or just click the link below. That's geology.com to save 40% off on your 30-day trial. Thanks again to Geology. Wizard, the Guide to Comics, and Toyfare Magazine were published by Wizard Entertainment beginning in 1991 and 1997, respectively. They were not the first magazines to cover the comics or action figure industry, but they quickly became the most popular and most influential resources for both, setting a high standard for quality of publication and a low standard for quality of humor that I lived, laughed, and loved. As teens growing up in the 1980s, Gareb Shamus and his brothers collected sports cards, which they discovered could be sold for more than what they paid for them, considerably more. Their profits inspired their parents to open a shop called Wizard of Cards and Comics in Nanuet, New York. While he was in college, Gareb's mother would send him a stack of comics every month to keep him caught up on the stories, but leaving him with questions about the larger industry. Comics were undergoing drastic changes in the look, the quality, and the appeal of books that had been around for, in some cases, nearly 50 years at the time. The late 1980s saw a shift toward darker, grittier, more mature stories in some mainstream comics like Batman, especially in Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. Superheroes as a storytelling medium itself was deconstructed by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' Watchmen. Marvel characters like Wolverine and the X-Men, Daredevil, Ghost Rider, and the Punisher led the way for a new, darker, grittier, less traditional interpretation of the word hero. New characters, new books were being created nearly every day. New readers were flocking to books they had never read before. New buyers were buying books they had never bought before. Comic books as a pop culture influencer, while still on the fringe, were more visible than ever. The average age of a comics reader was increasing, as was the number of independent publishers and the variety of genres served altogether. The industry began treating every issue it produced as a rare collectible worthy of investment. Polybagged, free trading cards, 8 different limited edition variant covers, glow-in-the-dark. Anything they could think of to create a sense of scarcity and drive the fear of missing out on a historic investment opportunity. If Spider-Man #1 from 1962 could sell for thousands of dollars in 1991, then surely X-Force #1 would see the same, if not more, value in 2021? After graduating college in 1990, Gareb Shamus and friend Pat McCallum, who managed the Wizard of Cards and Comics store at the time, began producing a newsletter. That newsletter evolved into a small black and white booklet called Wizard, the Guide to Comics. With a loan from his parents, Shamus took the leap into professional publishing with Wizard, the Guide to Comics #1 in July of 1991. The cover repurposing a drawing of Spider-Man in a star-covered pointy wizard hat and robe by Todd McFarlane that had been commissioned as a gift to Gareb's father years before the magazine existed. Issue 1 debuted at San Diego Comic-Con in July of 1991, months before the September cover date. Copies were given out for free to passers-by on the convention floor, many of whom did not want it, which Shamus found to be a big disappointment, but not enough to stop him. Wizard officially arrived in September, but after just a few months, sales were already beginning to wane. According to Seamus, things were looking pretty bleak until they switched to glossy paper and full-color interiors. And also that they got the exclusive scoop on the founding of Image Comics. In 1992, the hottest best-selling artists, who had been working on the hottest and best-selling comic books, left Marvel to form their own imprint called Image Comics. Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, and Eric Larson, no relation, left books like Spider-Man, X-Men, X-Force, and Spider-Man to create their own studios and characters: Spawn, Wildcats, Youngblood, and Savage Dragon. It upended the entire comic book industry. New buyers looking to invest in comics coincided with the expansion of Wizard Magazine as a conduit to the industry for new, old, casual, and die-hard fans. It became the source for information and an influential force that drove trends as much as it responded to them. Wizard Magazine exposed readers to new books, creators, and smaller publishers, while it acted as a platform for rent to the sponsored corporate messages from Marvel and DC, which was fine because that's what most of the target audience was buying and reading anyway. Wizard's success was driven by the writers and editors at Wizard who developed a unique voice in the industry. Wizard had its journalistic achievements, its straight news, but it also had a personality unlike any other comics magazine. A personality that reached into the community of collectors, having conversations about and indulging in the kinds of things that fans talked, dreamed, and joked about in one of the only forums possible before the internet existed. Letters and art from fans, schedules for conventions, announcements for upcoming titles, spotlights on writers and artists, top 10 lists, casting calls for movies that might never happen, cosplay contests, hypothetical versus battles, art lessons from comic pros. Coverage of video games, movies, cartoons, toys, collectibles, and anything else related to the interests of comic book and pop culture fans. Original art by popular artists, limited edition exclusive comics, trading cards, and free America Online CDs. A monthly price guide, and a whole lot more. Wizard was the best place to get a sampling of everything new and exciting, a survey of just about everything a comics fan might be interested in, and in a format that legitimized their fandom with its high production value, all served with a genuine sense of excitement and humor. Wizard hit circulation rates as high as 400,000 at its peak, but regularly topped 100,000 copies per month for several years in a row. That kind of success speaks to the demand that existed within the market for a product like this and resulted in several additional publications focused on different parts of the collectibles ecosystem. Just in time for the 1996 holiday season, Wizard Entertainment released a one-shot special Wizard publication, Toyfare: The Guide to Collectible Toys. As the action figure and collectibles industry had grown through the 90s, so had Wizard's coverage of it. In fact, Wizard's page count had more than doubled from less than 100 pages in 1991 to well over 200 in 1996. Each issue was bursting at the seams with the amount of coverage and variety of price guides they were trying to provide. In September of 1997, the majority of that toy coverage shifted from the pages of Wizard to its own monthly magazine. With more room for content exclusive to toys and action figures, Toyfare took what Wizard was already doing well and both applied and amplified it with respect to toys. Unlike today, in 1997, there wasn't quite enough toy news being made on a monthly basis, much less daily, to drive a full magazine's worth of content. And that's where Toyfare, even more than Wizard, was able to have fun, push the envelope, and get creative with the balance of news versus entertainment. Humorous captions on images throughout the pages was a staple of both magazines, but taken to the next level in Toyfare. And those little snacky bites of humor inspired one of the most important, most popular features, Twisted Toyfare Theater. Born as Twisted Mego Theater in the 1996 winter special, it was a comic strip starring vintage Mego action figures from the late 1970s. It juxtaposed those characters from different media against each other in a Toy Story kind of world that was, in reality, the photo booth at the Toyfare offices. The characters knew they were action figures, retained some, but not all of their comic book or television-based personas, and constantly broke the fourth wall, addressing the reader directly. Twisted Toyfare Theater would establish the look, tone, voice, and built-in audience for a group of writers that included the previously mentioned Doug Goldstein, as well as Tom Root and Matthew Senrick. Those three would go on to create Robot Chicken in 2001, whose 11th season started airing like 2 weeks ago. It is officially the longest-running series on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim in number of episodes and years.
You got 50,000 on Double Dragon?
Fred Savage has a plan.
Look at him. He's a wizard. He's headed for the video championships.
It's going to take a lot of talent.
Emily! Here we come!
A little romance.
I am not kissing a boy.
And the wizard.
Video Armageddon!
You can do it! You're the best!
Fred and Savage in The Wizard. Rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Starts Friday, December 15th at theaters everywhere.
Wizard Entertainment would take as many opportunities as possible to capitalize on segments of popular fandom. They published Collector's Sports Look for sports cards, InQuest Gamer, the gaming magazine, In Power, basically Wizard for younger kids, Anime Insider for anime and related interests, special seasonal publications like Toy Wishes, a holiday shopping guide, and one issue of a Beanie Baby-focused magazine. The question is it Bean Power? Yes, it was, and it came polybagged with free tattoos. The Wizard Fan Awards were first held at DragonCon in 1993, then at the Philadelphia Comic Book Spectacular in 1994. In 95 and 96, the event was featured at the Chicago Comic-Con, where it would remain for the next 10 years because in 1997, Wizard bought the convention. In 1998, Wizard renamed Chicago Comic-Con to Wizard World Chicago. Attendance increased from around 5,000 in 1997 to 24,999. And one, me. I was there. It marked the beginning of a new phase of the growth and dominance of Wizard throughout the comics and collectibles industry, and my first experience trying to pack 5 times more stuff into my carry-on luggage than it could realistically hold. In the years that followed, Wizard expanded their influence on the convention circuit by purchasing shows in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Dallas, Texas, Los Angeles, California, Boston, and Atlanta, Georgia. And that's when fans and the industry drew the line. Wizard had begun to overreach. Wizard brought the big convention experience to shows throughout the country supported by big corporate sponsors. Like they did with their magazines, Wizard helped legitimize the experience for the larger mainstream audience. But that came at a price. Despite Wizard's marketing that every show would be new and exciting, the shows were generally the same. Regional shows lost their local personality and unique quirks. In 2005, they attempted to schedule Wizard World Atlanta on the same weekend as the long-running, industry-beloved Heroes Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, just 4 hours away, a deliberate attempt to steal the audience. The audience said no. Pushback was so intense that Wizard was forced to postpone Wizard World Atlanta until 2007. The message was clear that a large part of the industry, fans and creators, thought Wizard Entertainment had become too big, and that was dangerous. That was the story of comics in the 90s. The whole thing was churning at a rate that superheated and exploded. Marvel filed for bankruptcy in 1997 after multiple self-inflicted, catastrophic, unforced errors, not the least of which was letting the biggest names in comics leave to form Image. There were huge events intended to drive mainstream buying without a thought given to the oversaturation of product as investors scooped up dozens of copies purely for investment potential, or the damage that would be done to brands like Superman when casual buyers assumed DC was serious that he was now dead and walked away from comics forever. Between 1993 and 1997, 2/3 of comic shops closed. Smaller independent publishers like Comico, Defiant, Eclipse, and Malibu couldn't survive the quickly shrinking market that followed. Some began to criticize Wizard for their role in the industry crash. Some people found it suspicious that the Shamus family was a comics and collectibles retailer that was having a lot of success. Some going so far as to accuse Wizard of intentionally manipulating markets with their price guides, creating artificial excitement for products, then cashing out on the back end. At the 2001 Harvey Awards, Frank Miller vented his frustration about Wizard's place in the industry. While tearing pages out of a copy of the magazine, he said,
"Even though this monthly vulgarity reinforces all the prejudice people hold about comics, declaring to all the world that we're as cheap and trashy and stupid as they think we are, we sponsor this assault. We sponsor it. We pay for the goddamn privilege."
And be certain of this, our field will pull out of this slump, and it won't be Hollywood that'll rescue us, and it ain't gonna be the internet either. It'll be the books. It'll be the comic books.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
4 years later, in 2005, Miller was the guest of honor at Wizard World Chicago on the strength of his movie Sin City, but that's not... See, the point is, what you're missing here is that it's the corporate overlords. Miller thought Wizard was a Bible written by Satan, and how are we doing on time here? Some of the blame directed at Wizard is debatable, some is not. There is no denying that Wizard Entertainment did not prioritize the shift to digital media as much as it prioritized shifting resources to convention management. As more people logged on, customers were presented with more voices, more angles, more options than ever before, including, in some cases, direct access to creators themselves. But there was no immediacy in Wizard's online strategy. There was a void online, and other sites were taking the opportunity to fill it. Brett White, WizardUniverse.com news editor, said, Wizard's continued refusal to change with the times has now completely bitten them in their foot, which was just shot by the gun their ass was holding. As a former employee, I know they are still using a late 90s Yahoo business model site. I know they cannot update their site more than 3 times a day. I know that the updating process takes about an hour. I know that Wizard Magazine was irrelevant because every other internet news site was beating us at our own game. But was any money ever pushed towards an up-to-date website? No. In 2006, editor-in-chief Pat McCallum, who had been there since before day one, was fired. No reason given. In 2007, Scott Gramlin was named editor-in-chief and Darren Sanchez was named vice president of production. In 2008, editor Brian Cunningham was let go. In 2009, 10% of the staff was laid off in favor of freelancers. In August of 2010, Wizard attempted to correct course with the magazine. Issue 228 relaunched with comic writer Mark Millar as a special guest editor. But it wasn't enough to change the downward momentum. By December of 2010, issue 233, direct market orders were down to just 17,000. On January 24, 2011, Wizard released a statement reinforcing Gareb Shamus as president and CEO of the public company Wizard World, Inc., expressing excitement for the upcoming national tour of pop culture conventions and a new digital version of the magazine, saying, quote, Wizard Entertainment is ceasing publication of the print magazines Wizard and Toyfare. Wizard World, Inc. will begin production of the online publication Wizard World beginning in February. We feel this will allow us to reach an even wider audience in a format that is increasingly popular and more readily accessible. No mention of the layoffs of the entire staff of both magazines without notice, nor plans to assist them in finding work or continuing their benefits. No mention of plans to reimburse subscribers for the print magazines that would never be published. The staff did not take it well. Assistant editor Alejandro Arbona, in a now-deleted tweet, said, I'll be 100% blunt in my opinion. Gareb and Stephen Shamus are dishonest, disreputable, ethically rudderless businessmen playing a shell game. Ryan Dunleavy, cartoonist, said, Wizard, it was fun working there, the people were awesome, and they all deserved better than what the owners gave them. 2 months later, in March of 2011, the last issue of Wizard Magazine was published featuring Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern on the cover. That same month, the last issue of Toyfare number 163 was published, featuring Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern on the cover. Ryan Reynolds. In March of 2011, Wizard Magazine did relaunch as an app called Wizard World. It was essentially the exact same magazine as before, price guide and everything as if eBay didn't exist, but presented in a clunky web reader format with actual page-turning animation. I'm embarrassed for you. Wizard World intended to focus on their conventions. By 2015, Gareb Shamus had been pushed out as CEO. The company was losing millions of dollars in revenue and cut back their total convention slate to 19 from a high of 25. In 2016, the dirty laundry piling up behind the scenes throughout corporate offices started to become public. Wizard World sued their chief marketing officer, Stephen Shamus, for $1 million, accusing him of stealing memorabilia to resell it, among other things. Shamus countersued for what he claimed was $500,000 in back wages owed to him since 2011. And in 2017, another lawsuit alleged that the 3 Shamus brothers were in violation of FCC regulations for failing to disclose stock they owned through various shell companies that allegedly existed to attempt a hostile takeover of the publicly traded Wizard World company that the 3 were no longer part of. That same year, Wizard announced fresh new online content coming to market in the form of WizPop. Soon, but really at that point, there were already tons of larger sites doing it better and for much longer than Wizard had when they were a print publication. Each time Wizard started over, it seemed like the previous versions were lost, and they had long since burned all their goodwill with fans. In February of 2021, Wizard distributed what is presented as a return of Wizard Magazine. Kind of. It was given out to attendees of the Comics Pro retailer event. It featured a recap of the March 2020 Wizard World Cleveland, an event held while much of the world was going into lockdown mode thanks to COVID-19. In August of 2021, Fan Expo, another convention management company, purchased the Wizard World's top 6 most attended annual conventions: Philadelphia, New Orleans, Portland, St. Louis, Cleveland, and the one that started it all, Chicago. In fact, Wizard World is the last Wizard convention to be held in October of 2021 before they are rebranded Fan Expo's 2022 convention dates to be announced at a later date. Gareb Shamus moved on from Wizard. According to his LinkedIn page, he founded Black Bull Media in 2012 to develop comic book franchises for film, TV, toys, games, etc. Titles include Gatecrasher, Beautiful Killer, Just a Pilgrim, The New West, and Shadow Reavers. He has developed a whole new facet of his life as a fine artist. In 2014, he opened the Pivot Gallery in New York City. He displays his own paintings as well as the works of others. And in 2017, he and his brother Steven started Ace Universe with the purpose to create a global voice for the superhero real world by producing Comic-Cons that showcase world-renowned celebrities, experiences, etc. Everything will be live streamed. It's conventions. They're doing conventions under a different name. They're on social media, and there's a podcast and a YouTube channel. There's probably a calendar of their events, but I couldn't find it. Many fans who grew up with Wizard and Toyfare Magazine still hold a great deal of nostalgia for the print publications. The YouTube channel Wizards, the podcast guide to comics, is dedicated to re-examining the 90s comics boom through the pages of Wizard Magazine. They recently hosted a 30th anniversary reunion with over a dozen Wizard alumni, which included longest tenured Wizard staff member and current Robot Chicken head writer Douglas Goldstein. With any luck and a whole lot of distance, the good things will outlive the negative. There are a lot of people who modeled their creative exploits after the love, excitement, and humor that filled the pages of both Wizard and Toyfare. People who attended the very first Wizard World Chicago. People talking to you right now. Rob Bricken, former editor at Anime Insider, summed it up best when he said, "For all the shit Wizard got, I don't think my writing has been influenced by anything more. That nerdy subjects could be worthy of news coverage, critical thought, and a shit ton of humor. That you could take things like comics more seriously than regular people, but less seriously than insane fanboys. There was a time when Wizard did that before and better than anybody, and I hope people remember that." Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you haven't heard, we started streaming on Twitch. Find us at twitch.tv/toygalaxy. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon or become a YouTube channel member. Let us know in the comments down below if you were a fan of Wizard or Toyfare or any of their publications, or if you ever attended a Wizard World convention. Like I said, I grew up on Wizard and Toyfare. I was exactly the right age and interest and sense of humor level to fully embrace everything about it. Everything except the price guide. That stupid, stupid price guide, especially in Toyfare. One week I can go to the flea market and get a vintage Boba Fett from some guy for $1. The next week it's $75 because he picked up a copy of Toyfare and completely misunderstood the pricing chart. But the damage was done, and I never bought another Boba Fett.